Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fairskate Precinct, home of the Botswana Stock Exchange. But more importantly, I'd like to welcome you to the November edition of the Botswana Stock Exchange opening bell ceremony, which will be held today as an unveiling of the sponsors of the upcoming African Securities Exchanges Association Conference, which will be held in Kasane this year under the theme Building Resilient Capital Markets from the 25th to the 26th of November. But before we begin the agenda this morning, kindly allow me the honor and the privilege of acknowledging the presence of the following. I would first like to acknowledge any BSc CSD board members here present. I see Ms. Gilibukuletiwa Famang at the back there. We acknowledge you this morning. I'd also like to take this moment to acknowledge the BSc CEO, Mr. Thapelo Teole. I'd also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge our distinguished guests, the sponsors of the ASEA Conference 2019. They're quite lengthy, but please allow me to acknowledge each and everyone here this morning. Firstly, we have our gold sponsor, which is Botswana Tourism Organization. It's represented here this morning by Mr. Tafa Tafa, who's the Executive Manager under Investments and Product Development. I'd also like to take this moment to acknowledge Botswana Insurance Holdings Limited, which is also our other gold sponsor. It's represented here this morning by the Group CEO, Ms. Catherine Lesetedi. I'd also like to acknowledge, in absence, our other gold sponsor, which is Financial Sector Deepening Africa. It's a financial investment firm that is based in Kenya. We also acknowledge them here this morning, even though they could not be able to attend the media briefing. Our next category of sponsors, I'm going to be delving into the associate sponsors. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge Rand Merchant Bank Botswana, which is represented by Ms. Harriet Mlalazi, who is the RMB Acting Director. We welcome you here this morning. I'd also like to acknowledge Stanbic Bank Botswana, which is supposed to be represented by Mr. Samuel Menta, the CEO. I assume he's not here with us this morning, but we do acknowledge Stanbic Bank. I'd also like to acknowledge Barclays Bank of Botswana Limited, who's represented here this morning by the MD, Ms. Gyabetswe Peko Mosha Khane. I'd also like to acknowledge Standard Chartered Bank Botswana, which is represented here this morning by the Group CFO, Dr. Mbako Mpo. I'd also like to acknowledge our other associate sponsor, Turnstile Holdings Limited, which is represented by Mr. Lingi Mapanyane. I'd also like to acknowledge our other associate sponsor, Choppies Enterprises Limited, which is supposed to be represented by the CEO, Mr. Ramachandran Otopatu. I'd also like to take this moment to acknowledge our other associate sponsor, Citizen Entrepreneurial Development Agency. They did inform us that they will not be able to be with us this morning, but we do acknowledge them. We move on to the next category of sponsors, which is under the bronze category. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge NASDAQ, which of course is based in the USA. They could not be with us here this morning. We also want to acknowledge LSEG Technology, which is under the London Stock Exchange Group. They're also one of our bronze sponsors that are based in London. I'd also like to take this moment to acknowledge Botswana Development Corporation, which is represented here this morning by the Head of Corporate Affairs and Strategy, Ms. Bisaro Lebang. We acknowledge you this morning. I saw her. Oh, thank you so much. I'd also like to take this moment to acknowledge our other bronze sponsor, the Local Enterprise Authority, which is represented by the CEO, Dr. Rishus Moate. I'd also like to take this moment to acknowledge Botswana Investment Trade Center, which is our other bronze sponsor. I'd also like to take this moment to acknowledge Design Law Group, which is also another bronze sponsor. It's represented here this morning by Mr. Iman Kade, which is an associate. Are you with us this morning? Thank you so much. I'd also like to take this moment to acknowledge our other bronze sponsor, which is Seedco International Limited. It's represented by the General Manager, Mr. Samson Rubisi. Mr. Rubisi, I guess, is running a little bit late. I'd also like to take this moment to acknowledge our other bronze sponsor, which is the Special Economic Zones Authority. I don't know if they're here with us this morning. I guess not. I'd like to also move on to our other set of sponsors. Firstly, let me acknowledge the broadcast partner of this upcoming conference, which will be Duma FM, and the two media partners, which will be Business Weekly and Review, as well as the Patriot on Sunday newspaper. Notably, before I do proceed as well with acknowledgements, I would like to also state that we will be covered by Bloomberg at the upcoming conference. So ladies and gentlemen, before we do proceed, let me also acknowledge our fellow speaker, BSc Head of Market Development, Ms. Thapelo Moribame. I'd also like to acknowledge BSc senior management and staff. I'd also like to acknowledge key stakeholders within the ecosystem of capital markets, the business community, members of the media, members of the public. Good morning. Good morning. So at this point in time, seeming as we're running behind schedule, please allow me the honor of inviting to the podium the BSc the BSc CEO, Mr. Thapelo Tseolia.
Dumela, good morning. Let me take this opportunity to welcome any board member who is here for BSc. I think we have a board member from CSD, Mary Hamal. Let me also acknowledge the presence of Greg Matsake, who is a former board member and also a stockbroker, and also a frequent present here during this important phase. I think it is a pleasure to us as the BSc to be able to attract 24 local and international sponsors for this conference. This is a very big conference, very important. I think it will be the most important conference in this year. We're expecting more than 300 delegates across Africa and across the world. Most importantly, it's people who deal with money and investments, and not only money and investments, but a lot of it. Amand Tata Hita Butterfly. Our sponsors are very important to us. Botswana Tourism Organization, we thank you very much for being the lead sponsor. And I think it's quite fitting because we had an easier option of taking the conference to Gaborone, which was going to be cheaper for us and easier for us. But we took a deliberate decision to showcase Botswana and take the conference to Kasane. And I think by so doing, you also supported us in terms of the logistics and in terms of the financial support, which is something that we like. Those of you who haven't seen the video that is promoting the conference, I think just check it out. It's a very nice picture of what Botswana looks like. We presented it to the African markets and they liked it so much. Botswana Insurance Holdings Limited, Catherine, who is also my friend, I think. We have always supported the BSE, and you always support us. Even when they call you for the Diamond Conference today, you still come to the BSE because you very much believe in the value that the stock market does to Botswana. We have supported our financial literacy programs around the country, and for this I think we really thank BIHL. FSD Africa is a Kenyan-based United Kingdom funder. We are one of the fortunate stock exchanges to receive funding from this. Other guys from other stock exchanges were not supported in their previous conferences. But because we are Botswana Stock Exchange, we managed to receive a good sponsor from them. RNB, I can talk a long time about your support to the BSc and this event. Thanks to Lolo, and I think wherever you are going, you said you are going somewhere, you are leaving RNB. I think you have done a wonderful work to support the BSc event. And I hope Harriet, you'll still be there, and I know you'll be there for the BSc. Stanbic, Mr. Mikti, I think Stanbic is also very supportive. Probably couldn't make it up to here, but it's fine. We appreciate receiving the sponsorship anyway. Barclays Bank Botswana, KB. We welcome the support from Barclays. They've been absent for a long time, and thank God we are appointed CEO. So we can look for a continued support for a lot of our events. Standard Chartered, Mbako, and the group, I think thanks for coming. And I know you also personally participate in a lot of bond market conference in terms of being a speaker and also in terms of being helping out. So we really appreciate your presence. 10 Star Holdings, we have always supported BSE, which is good. Chopis Enterprises, Ram is not here, although we still punish you, but there are no emotions involved here. It's just a professional relationship. So it is the people in the street who will think that we don't talk to each other, we don't even meet. It's not a fight, it's the way the market operates. But Chopis have always been supportive of the development of the capital market. So there's nothing really wrong about it. But even the rest, all these are listed entities. Even if when they break the rules, we'll still punch them a little bit. SIDA, thanks for supporting us. The NASDAQ is a US-based stock exchange. When you are really internationally recognized, this is the type of sponsors that you will receive. London Stock Exchange Group Technology, LSG, is a group of London Stock Exchange. I think we are also the first to receive a sponsorship from them, so which is a good confidence. BDC, Mutuarello, we always count on you. You really take care of your tenants. So we appreciate that. I mean, even the launch of the magazine, BDC is always there. I remember when we were still at some ugly building somewhere in Fairgrounds, when we were trying to attract the stock exchange. This building was empty, but immediately we agreed, everybody came running. So good relationship. Leah, Dr. Rachel Martin, we know Leah is a big fan of the BSE. We are also a big fan of BSE because Leah plays a fundamental role in SME development, and it's our wish that this partnership will always take it forward. So we really appreciate your presence. BITC, thanks for coming. Just say hi to girls. Tomorrow another Steve Harvey go conference. So, but it's fine. The Silo Group, thanks for supporting BSE. Sitco, Special Economic Zones, we appreciate it. Juma FM, Business Weekly Review, the Patriot, I think we really appreciate you. We're expecting 1 or 2 big sponsors again. I think after they made up my mind, we'll also be announcing them, and these ones are really big. BSE staff members, the business community here, members of the media and members of the public, it's nice to have you here every month. It's a even you, Silva. We like having you here from the Zona Times. Let me take this opportunity to welcome you to the November 2019 edition of the Opening Bell, where we are going to be revealing our sponsors. I think we've already mentioned them, and also to really show our appreciation for the support that we have from them. The conference, like I said, will be held at Moana along the river banks on a marquee. It is the first conference in Africa to be held under a marquee next to the river. And we made sure that we frightened them that if you walk to the river, the crocodiles will eat you. So we are looking forward to having a very fantastic conference. But one of the things that we do during the opening bell is the market update. Turnover levels up to 31st October reached 1.4 billion. Turnover is a little bit down this year, like in all other markets around the world. That's about 6.8 million every day. When we look at the value of the bonds traded, I think bonds trading, especially government bonds, are doing well. The trading volumes reached about 1.4 billion also, and the corporate bonds 29 million. So if you look at the trading of bonds combined, is actually more than the trading in the share is at 1.44 billion. So I think it's the dynamics of the market. But as you walked in, especially those who came late, you realize that the ticker is up now. That shows prices, but we are still on the test mode. If you go to CBD on the Zambezi tower, you'll also see the ticker. It's up, it shows the prices. But I think by end of the week or next week, the prices that you'll be seeing there will be live prices. When the price is hit exactly, the price will change and show the actual price. So these are some of the developments that we are going to be showing. We are going to be bringing up. But of course, there's an advertising space next to the ticker, and we've invited all our listed entities free adverts for the next 3 months. So I'll urge those of you who have not submitted them, including the brokers, to do so. Like I said, we are bringing in 32 stock exchanges and about 300 to 400 market practitioners across Africa and Kasane. And as you might notice, the logistics are too much, but I think we are very much advanced in terms of the logistics. We're expecting our newly elected president to do the official opening of the conference, and we also expect whoever will be Minister of Finance tomorrow to also grace the conference, and also whoever is going to be the Minister of Trade when Cabinet is announced to also grace the occasion. But we are bringing in a lot of powerful speakers across the world, from the US, from Europe, who are going to be participating in the conference. I'm not going to be going about the format of the conference. I think all information is there in our social media and in our website, which still looks a little bit ugly, but the new website I think is coming up in about 8 weeks or so with a mobile application. So I think those are some of the developments that we want to try to close the year in. Our IT manager is standing at the door there, so I think he knows what this means. I think that's all from myself. But to wish all of you safe travel to Kasane, and also a very enjoyable conference. Those who have not registered, I think please register because there are a lot of business opportunities also coming up out of this conference. But with all those remarks, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome all of you. It's a day packed with activities. I know at 2 o'clock we are going for the BIHL event, and there are some nice drinks in the evening also, courtesy of BIHL, but only those who have been invited like myself. With all those remarks, ladies and gentlemen, feel free. You are welcome to the stage. Thank you, Pota.
Thank you so much, Letole. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see the screen behind me, the market has officially opened. So we shall be moving on to the next action item on the agenda, which is the official bell ringing. Before we do so, I would like to kindly ask all the sponsors of the SAL conference to kindly convene on stage, where we shall have an opportunity to ring the bell to signify the opening of the market. In 3, 2, 1, ring. Ring the bell. Thank you so much. Please give them a round of applause. So at this point in time, please indulge me in inviting to the podium Mr. Tafa Tafa, who represents Botswana Tourism Organization. He's the Executive Manager of Investment and Product Development. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. Let me take this opportunity to thank you, Retole, for this wonderful opportunity for Botswana Tourism Organization to participate in this international conference, of which we see Botswana being given the opportunity to showcase itself as a destination where we can actually host conferences of this magnitude and also ensure that at the same time we enjoy our tourism products that are available within the country. When this opportunity was availed to BTO, we thought what a wonderful opportunity for us to actually make sure that our country is seen by the world as seeing that this conference is open to the world to participate in. Kasane was an ideal location, noting the fact that our facilities are located within a national park. Kasane is within a national park. Therefore, the opportunities for you to engage in both tourism activities as well as your business of the day are possible each day, as well as the scenery just as you are in the area of Kasane. Just to give you a background on Botswana Tourism Organization, we have been mandated to promote Botswana as a tourism destination of choice. Secondly, we promote investment into the tourism sector. And then, of course, we grade and classify tourist facilities. So this opportunity is towards mandate participation into the tourism sector in terms of investment, as well as to encourage a lot more conferences to come to Botswana, as business tourism, as you know, worldwide is growing very rapidly, and it's an opportunity for Botswana to also participate in the business tourism sector. We would like to see a lot more conferences of this nature coming through to Botswana, and we will take up any opportunity that comes up for Botswana to promote itself and for BTO to make sure that we showcase what we have to offer as Botswana in the business tourism arena. So having said that, like I said, we shall be participating in this event to ensure that Botswana is showcased as the destination of choice for future conferencing markets, as well as conferences of this nature and others. Ladies and gentlemen, for us, this is a really big opportunity for us, and it is indeed a great opportunity. And we once again like to express our sincere gratitude to BSC for this opportunity for Botswana to participate in the sector. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tafalis. Please give him another round of applause. At this point in time, I would like to invite to the podium the Group CEO of Botswana Insurance Holdings Limited, Ms. Catherine Lisapedi, to talk about their involvement at the upcoming conference. Please give her a round of applause.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure for me to come and support the Botswana Stock Exchange, as well as my friend Ratshaole. Ratshaole and I meet very often in international conferences. We've met, I think, on 2 occasions at the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, and it is always a pleasure and a privilege, actually, to be able to be on such platforms and promoting and raising the flag of this proud nation. So that's how our relationship actually, I guess that's how we relate. I think, let me put it that way. But we are personal friends as well. Let me first start by really appreciating this invitation to be a sponsor for the conference that's going to be held in Kasane. As said, the BIHL Group has been supporting the BSE for, I think this is the 4th year running now. And we do that out of really the understanding that the BSE is a gateway into Botswana, through which Botswana is able to promote its own businesses to list, but also through which we are able to attract foreign investors into the economy. So by doing so, we believe as BIHL, a very important role. As the nation's leading Botswana Bond Financial Services Group, the BIHL Group, including our subsidiaries, Botswana Life, BIFM, and BIC, as well as our key associates, have been at the helm of many firsts in Botswana, and we are very proud of that. From a BSC perspective, we would really want to thank and appreciate the effort of this year's conference, where we are bringing on board an association of stock exchanges in Africa of more than, I think you said, more than 27 securities in Africa. And as said, we're talking real money in terms of how much flows through those exchanges. So it is indeed something that we must acknowledge and appreciate as Botswana. I believe that the insights from the conference will be very, very insightful for us as a nation and for the BSE to learn from. I hope as well that the conference, the actions that the conference will come up with rhetorical talk, but that will lead into real action, not just talk that will be shelved after the conference. We believe that a lot of what we've seen in the BSE, the developments that we've seen, at least on many occasions, I've had discussions with the BSE CEO, and it is always a pleasure to see some of those actions actually being implemented. And I have no question that some of what is going to be talked about in Kasane will benefit this great nation. With those few remarks, Ratsole, let me really thank you and your team and wish you well for the Kasane conference. Unfortunately, I will not be present at the conference. I would have really wanted to be there, but I will be held up attending board meetings outside the country of one of our associates. So it's sad that I'm not able to be there, but I will have a representative from the BIHL group. Also, let me apologize that we have an event this afternoon, and because of that event, I sadly have to leave before the formalities conclude, and I'm not being disrespectful. Please allow me to leave at this point, and I hope to see you, some of you who have registered at the event. Again, it's one of those events in Botswana that we believe really bring and showcase what Botswana is about. It's an event which we believe also talks to some of the topical challenges in Botswana and provide a platform where, as a collective, we can really come up with concrete action steps on how to contribute to the development of Botswana. Similar to this conference, no one can go it alone. Similar to this conference, the problems that we face today as a country are problems that companies need to solve, because the success of corporate Botswana, the success of each and every individual in this room, and our future generations is very much intertwined with the success of the country. So it is not for the politicians, it is for everyone to come together and to resolve our national challenges. Thank you very much and good morning.
And that's the slogan, strength in numbers. Please give her a round of applause. Thank you so much, Ms. Lisepedi. Moving on with the agenda, I would like to invite to the podium the Acting Director for Rand Mansion Bank Botswana, Ms. Harriet Mlalazi, who will be talking about RMB's involvement at the upcoming conference. Please indulge me in giving her a round of applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Director of Ceremonies, and thank you for affording us the opportunity to be part of this momentous occasion. I always like to start by introducing us because oftentimes they say, who's RMB? RMB is a corporate and investment banking wing of First National Bank of Botswana. And we are very excited today to be part of this moment. We actually view hosting the conference to be not just a milestone for the BSE, but for the nation at large. And for that, we want to congratulate the BSE for having won the bid to host the conference. We're actually here as a long-standing partner of the BSE. Our roots are very deep. We go back to previous events. We actually many years back recognized the BSE's commitment to growing the Botswana capital markets, and we decided that is a partner we want to back, and we want to be in the room whenever we are doing these initiatives. We've partnered on the Listings Conference, the Bond Conference, and several other capital raising workshops that were hosted by the BSE. And we are proud that our partnership continues to evolve. But today we're actually here now, partnering to host the 23rd Annual Africa Securities Exchanges Association Conference for 2019. The conference, which is being held under the theme Building Resilient African Capital Markets, is actually closely linked to our efforts as a Pan-African corporate and social and investment provider. We actually looked at the theme and we felt it could not have come at a more opportune time, looking at the challenges that are facing the industry and also the continent as a whole. Our exchanges are dealing with a lot of challenges, from corporate governance, weak broker relationships, very limited product offering, technology innovation, and we actually believe we all need to work together to come up with practical and very innovative solutions on how we can resolve the challenges that face the industry and the continent. But that being said, it's not all bad news really. I mean, we have our BSE being one of the trailblazers, having demutualized and being amongst the very first in the region to do it. I love Retolo's quote that he made at the time, where he said the pace of demutualization has been rapid in developed markets and slower in emerging markets. Some stock exchanges are still working hard to achieve demutualization. We can attest to this actually as RNB, having partnered and worked with some of the exchanges that have demutualized, being the BSE, being the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and the Nigerian Stock Exchange. We know the challenges very well. We also appreciate the challenges that different players come across, having also been involved in several of the significant deals in sub-Saharan Africa and also in Botswana. So we've got an appreciation of the challenges because our transactions have cut through both government and private sector. And it is for this reason that we actually believe that as investment bankers, particularly as investment bankers and the financial industry, we have a role to play in building resilient capital markets. We believe core to establishing those markets is actually trust, is transparency, and technology. And as we all know, the buzzword, I'm sure in every industry, it is topical that we are on the fourth industrial revolution. When you look further afield, we've seen developed markets, developed exchanges embracing robotics, digitization. We hear of smart orders. We hear of incorporating blockchain into trading. And we believe that as Africa, we also need to incorporate these innovations into how we do business. And it's actually also linked to our ethos as RNB. We believe in traditional values and innovative thinking. In closing, I wish to reiterate that we are deeply committed to growing the Africa continent. And very soon, actually, let me take the opportunity to talk about our stuff. We will be launching the Where to Invest in Africa report, which is a highly researched paper that looks into the different markets in Africa with a view to actually putting a spotlight on our investment potential. So Africa and R&D are closely intertwined, and that is why we've continued to partner with the BSE. Ours is to say, when you think investment, you must think R&D. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and we're looking forward to the conference, and we hope you all have a lovely morning.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mdalazi. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite our other associate sponsor, which is Barclays Bank of Botswana Limited, which is represented here this morning by the MD, Ms. Kiabetu Pieko Mashahani. Please give her a round of applause.
Actually, I was expecting to be the last speaker, more so that I'm the last sponsor to come on board. But if there's one thing I often look up to with Mr. Taolo is his authenticity. If that was a prize, I believe he really deserves it, because he will tell you exactly like it is and how he feels. But nonetheless, I hope technology will not fail me here. Just bear with me for a moment. I think I would like to start by reiterating what the other sponsors have said this morning by first congratulating Mr. Taule and his team for winning this bid to host this conference. For me, it's a testament that as a nation and as a country, we are ready to do more to move our country forward. And if we collaborate further, we can move mountains. And I would also like to thank you for inviting us, even though I was the last kid on the block, to really participate and be one of the sponsors. For me, I think it's one of those things that, as you all know, I was recently appointed to lead the bank. One of my priorities was to look at our sponsorship or citizenship agenda and align it to initiatives that will make a significant impact to our economy and our country. Why? Because for a bank like Barclays to continue existing and remain relevant, we need to activate our economy. We need to make sure that our citizens are aware that there's a balance between being more aware of financial literacy, but as well as understanding what is happening on the markets, because through that you can create wealth. And it is for that reason that I could not miss being part of the sponsors for this event. For us, I think the key thing at Barclays, soon to be ABSA, as you've seen, we started painting the town red, not that you're associated to the ruling party, but purely because I'm trying to attract the youthful market that I so much need in the bank. So that's why we've got those vibrant colors, please. Market development is one of our core strategies at Barclays, and this is evidenced by one of the initiatives that we have started over 3 years ago in collaboration with official monetary and financial institution, the ABSA Financial Market Index. This index is currently on its 3rd year, and it was developed to gauge financial market development in 20 countries, including Botswana. And it is gauging the financial market across the 5 pillars being the market depth, access to foreign exchange, capacity of local investors, tax and regulatory environment, as well as market transparency and macroeconomic opportunities. The index has not only been successful over the 3 years, but I would also like to believe that it has been successful in disseminating the best practice, and it has shown other countries that are currently being scoped into the index the best and effective way and how they can also aspire to develop their market. Barclays Bank of Botswana will be presenting the contents of this year's version of ABSA Financial Market Index at the ASEA conference in Kasane. Our hope is that market participants across Africa will use the index as a tool to improve their financial markets, and we stand ready to work with the local government, BSC, and regulators in this regard. And I do believe that as one of the banks that is listed with a share price that is doing well, we need to continue being partner to this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Peko Mashana. Please let's give her a round of applause. Last but certainly not least, I'd like to invite to the podium the Chief Financial Officer of Standard Chartered Bank Botswana, who will be discussing about the bank's involvement at the upcoming conference, Dr. Mpako Mbo. Please give him a round of applause.
Dumela. Right, so first of all, thank you very much for the invitation, first of all, to be here with you this morning. And most importantly, for an opportunity to be with you in Kasane. We don't take it lightly. Thank you very much, we appreciate it. Now, Standard Chartered Bank is a member of a community of global banking and non-banking subsidiaries spread across 70 countries across the globe, 1,200 in number. We opened our doors for business in Botswana in 1897. That makes us 122 years today. I'm not suggesting I've been with the bank for that long, but that's how long the brand has been. We listed with the BSE right upon the formal establishment of the exchange. That was in 1989. So we have been holding, and we still do, the BSE in very high regard, and we intend to continue participating in all the good initiatives that the exchange does. And we still are waiting for more opportunities. We are waiting for your calls to participate and partner with you more and more. As you may know, it's not only our listed equities with the BSE. We have this culture that we have developed over time that we will maintain to list each debt security that we issue as a bank. We don't only list our own, we are a trusted partner in arranging for listed issuances. We are currently live running with a 1 billion Pula note program that is listed under the BSE as Standard Chartered Bank. And it's with one of the largest corporate issuers. I won't say the name. Do you want to say something, Ms. Harriman? Yeah, we are also a member of the Bond Market Association that Retsola spoke about, which is an initiative that is hosted by the exchange. It is a platform that as a bank we also hold in high regard, just as we do with the exchange itself. And we are committed to continue participating in that, through that particular initiative in whatever way we can, just for the development of our capital markets as a country. As a bank, we are also a trusted provider of corporate, commercial, and institutional banking solutions to our corporate clients. And I'm sure most of you are quite familiar with our leading digital platforms on the corporate side. What we have been busy with of late has really been to redefine the client experience for our retail client. Our retail clients range from mass banking, priority banking, as well as small businesses. We recently launched a digital bank, the first of its kind in Botswana. So far operating in 4 of our African markets. So with this digital bank, what we are seeing is something that we probably have not seen before. It's a platform through which we offer our clients a range of over 70 banking solutions through mobile platforms or through mobile gadgets. We are now in a space where our clients can open and close bank accounts right from the comfort of their homes. I won't say much given the fact that the timing is very short, but just to appreciate once more Retsola and your team for having invited us to Kasane. We look forward to fully participate in a very meaningful way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mbowe. Let's please give him another round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, thankfully we've made up for lost time. So our next action item in the agenda is the vote of thanks, which will be delivered by the BSE Head of Market Development, Ms. Thapelo Marivame.
Thank you, Kota. Bye, good morning. Let me take this time to acknowledge the BSE and CSD board members here present, all the sponsors that were mentioned this morning, BSE senior management and staff, as well as the key stakeholders within the ecosystem of capital markets, the business community, members of the media. It's a pleasure to give the closing remarks at this opening bell ceremony to unveil the sponsors for the 23rd ASEA conference to be held in Kasane later this month. I know it's very difficult, particularly in the current economic climate, for companies to allocate funds towards sponsorship. So the fact that we have managed to attract 24 sponsors really demonstrates the value of this event. So from the presentations this morning, it's very clear that there is value for the sponsors in being associated with this conference. So we are very happy about that as the BSE. So hosting this conference is really a big milestone for us as the BSE because we continue to galvanize the private sector for development by availing opportunities to raise capital. We also act as a barometer or indicator of economic health for Botswana because as you might have seen from our current report, market performance report, we've seen a lot of international investors coming on board this year, which is a really good or big milestone for the BSE. So the fact that this conference has been hosted by bigger stock exchanges in the past
and now it's being hosted in Botswana is really a great milestone, like I've said, because as the BSC, we really work hard to position ourselves as a world-class stock exchange. So this is a very important milestone for us. And Retafa has already said it, it's also important for the country as a whole, because this is the opportunity to showcase what we have to offer as Botswana. And if you look at the current registrations that we currently have, there's a lot of professionals, of course, coming, but there's a lot of people who are also bringing in families and friends to come and enjoy what Botswana has to offer. So this year's theme is Building Resilient African Capital Markets. Very important theme. We chose it strategically because looking at the level of development within the continent and what the continent has to offer, and the fact that there's also a lot of opportunities that are abundant in Africa. I tend to agree with the notion that as Africa, we do have everything within the continent to develop. And as organizations as well as Botswana, we have a lot within or we have a lot of resources that we have at our disposal to do whatever we can to propel our organizations and Botswana forward. So we need to really, really work hard in terms of developing this country. So I'm very happy that we see each other as partners, and let's continue relating as such, because it's very important for our development. So let's tap into each other's vantage points in order to exchange information and exchange other opportunities that are available and build a resilient Africa, like we say. So we do promise a very informative conference in a very refreshing ambience. Rathole has already given you a picture of how the conference is going to look like. I think it's going to look really, really beautiful. So if you haven't registered, please do register, because we do have slots available still. So do that as soon as possible, because registration closes on the 16th of November, and accommodation is also going very fast. So you are encouraged to register. We have a conference website that is dedicated towards registrations. So visit the conference website and register for the conference. So the sponsors have already been unveiled. You know them. You saw them presenting earlier on. So I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all the sponsors. So thank you very much, all the sponsors. A round of applause for the sponsors. I think you're really, really going to benefit from participating at this conference, because this is the biggest capital markets conference in Africa. So in closing, please stick around to network, because I believe there's a lot that we can still talk about. So Baha and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rami. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, on behalf of the Botswana Stock Exchange, let me kindly thank our sponsors for taking the time out of their busy schedules to be with us here this morning. The engagements are the publicity plan for the upcoming conference. So much of all the publicity with regards to the conference will be relayed on all our platforms, including radio, social media, as well as the conference website. That being said, the first will be going with our brand sponsors on the BSC radio show this upcoming Thursday. So if at all you want to hear more about the conference and more about the sponsors' involvement, please tune in as well. Besides that, I'd just like to thank the organizing team. It's been a crazy year organizing this conference, getting together the speakers, the sponsors, and everybody that's going to be involved, including the support from the government of Botswana. Thank you so much. We'll see you in 2 weeks in Kasane.
Thank you.